is this piece? It seems like
That
you have a
one
good chunk
piece?
of
My
light
skill.
water. Light colored water. No,
You have
okay.
light
At
colored
this point in the
water.
puzzle, that's what everyone is
It's
doing.
like half water.
Oh,
half
that's
boat.
why it's a boat. Okay. All right, as you were. What was I just going to say? I was going
I
to say
don't
something.
remember.
About the recycling.
No. Oh, I know what I was
they're
going
in
to say.
cahoots.
Oh, talking.
Where does this go?
Okay, no. When you said it's all about the money, have your kids... Is this just a middle school thing? You guys don't have kids in middle school. Is it a middle school thing to like, give me the money? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, but you don't have any kids in middle school.
Oh yeah, one in high school and one in 6th grade. But even still, like they both are like that age. You don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Okay, then this is going to be a dumb story
If
and I'm
it
not going to
was
tell it.
sigma or beta
Oh.
or alpha.
Do you know how many times last night at the SpongeBob cast party, I heard this? Wow, you ate that. You totally ate that. And I finally at one point I leaned over to Katie and I was like, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? And she was like, it's
I haven't
a good
heard
thing.
that. What does it mean?
It means like you did awesome.
nailed it?
Like, yeah, you like,
Which I guess also doesn't really make sense.
No, it does in my head.
what, you nailed it? What? Because it's from your generation.
that's because
why
you're
it
in your
makes
That's
sense.
exactly why.
What are we talking about today?
Apparently brain rot. Wait,
Wait, what?
That's what it's actually called? All this lingo? That
Brain
whatever.
rot?
Yeah.
Says who?
Like everybody.
I think it's just vernacular.
Well, okay, the technical term, but like the slang term is brain rot for all of those weird words.
Who told you that?
Isn't it just slang?
Oh my word. Look anywhere on the
What?
internet.
She's getting offended. Why are you getting offended? Did you come up with this title? And so you
I'm just a
stop
little bit
trying to like fetch
She's
a word,
trying
Gretchen.
I need coffee.
Brain rot is an informal, this is AI, informal term used to describe
See,
a perceived
AI made
decline in cognitive abilities that some attribute to excessive use of digital media, especially
AI,
social media.
that's
That's
not
not
what
what
it
that
is.
is.
That has nothing to do with what you're talking
No,
about.
it really is like all over the internet. I'm just surprised that I have seen something that
The
you guys
term
haven't.
is all over the internet, sure, but it doesn't have to do with you ate that. It doesn't have to do with
but
vernacular.
all of those sayings are called. I don't know how to explain this. I think I need to draw a picture.
Others,
Of a brain rotting or like a Venn diagram? What are we looking for here?
Here we go.
yeah, others say that brain rot can also refer to content like internet memes that are considered to be low value and have a negative effect on the viewer. For example, some say that viral memes like Skibidi Toilet and Get Research Sigma Mewing
Okay, yeah.
examples of brain rot.
Okay, well,
Some say
I can't be sure, but I think
concept of
Jessica's
brain rot
skeptical.
was first introduced
Jessica's
online
skeptical
around
of everything.
2007.
2007. These kids were
But
not saying
researchers,
skibbity in 2007.
that's because that's not what it is. It
was
has to do with the
listening.
use of technology in a dumbing down way, like doom scrolling or just mindless,
Like
things
actual
of like
brain rot?
yeah,
Okay,
things
well,
of
people,
low cognitive value.
Did you hear her though halfway through? She's like, I wasn't even really listening. That's so Annie. Annie will literally ask you a question and while
I
you
have
are
brain rot.
answering, she will turn around and walk away. Like while you are speaking the answer. I'm gonna be coughing a lot today, guys. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the Fragile Podcast.
Did you
we're
get sick
already
this week?
starting?
Yeah. We're
Wait, yeah,
you
you
got
got
sick?
no. We're already starting. No, I did not get sick.
Oh.
I think it's because of all the dust in the air. It really affects my lungs, all the wind and dust the last couple of days.
Oh, because
It
I
gets
was
down in my
sick
lungs.
last week and Nicholas was really sick last week.
I wasn't. I thought we were just going
Good job,
to
Welcome to the Fragile Podcast, where we are learning to embrace our humanity. I am April.
I'm Sarah and I desperately need coffee.
You can share mine. It's
I'm
right
Jessica,
there.
and I finally found out where those two pieces go.
I thought you were going to say you finally found out what brain rot is. I really did think you
I
were
pretty
going to
much
say
knew that from the get-go.
Okay, but have you really not heard that?
No. But
No.
like
I'm
just,
a little bit
I mean, I've
worried
heard the
about
term
my social
brain
media
rot,
Or, like,
feed.
for
rotting your
sure,
brain.
but I've never heard it in relation to slang.
that's because it's not.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
Oh. Gender norms in the home.
Oh, that's an exciting one.
Yeah.
That'll be a much better topic than brain rot.
Whatever that is.
Maybe they go hand in hand.
It's
I don't know.
subjective.
Maybe they go hand in hand. Everything goes hand in hand. Everything is related.
So by gender norms, we mean like the division of labor. Some would say, I think of like a buzzword term. I don't know, depending on who you listen to, is
Brain rot.
not that one. The division of the mental load.
The division of the mental load. Okay.
Yeah, I like that term.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of when you think gender norms, specifically within home culture? So this would be like family, like husband, wife, kids, like very stereotypical family culture.
What do I think of it right now?
Like what? Well,
Because we're just coming.
what?
I actually meant that in a serious way, but I can cuss if you want me to.
Well, it was kind of like what do I think of it right now? Well, let me tell you. Like that was an Evelyn kind of thing.
Oh man, Evelyn. This is why I'm slow moving.
This is why you have brain rot.
Anyway, what, Sarah, what do you think of it?
Okay, this piece doesn't go to this puzzle.
That you say that every time we do a puzzle, it is so annoying. Where is the British
Maybe
flag?
like the pineapple in our podcast episode.
You found it? Wait, it actually does go in this puzzle. Isn't that shocking how that's the same scenario every time?
What are we talking about?
Gender norms in the home. What do you think about it, Sarah?
I think that it is something that is changing for the better.
In the world or in your home?
I think, well, in my home, but I don't know.
In culture, in general?
Culture,
When
yes,
you say for the
there is a
better,
shift.
what do you mean? Where is this flag? Okay, I don't think this
In your hand?
Challenge accepted.
Hold on. No.
Where does this flag go? Or where does this piece go?
I mean for the better in the sense that things are becoming more equal and not so patriarchal. Patriarchal?
Sure.
Patriarchal?
No, just patriarchal.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if that was the word. You were like, that's a word. Like,
I think so.
yeah. It's
rooted in a word, so it's got to be a word.
No, that is not how that works. That's a separate discussion for a separate
That's how it
time.
should work.
Okay, so you're saying, oh, here it is. You're saying that it used to be more unfair.
This is the white piece you were looking for. We are really distracted.
I was looking for a white piece.
It's because we're nearing the end of this puzzle.
Oh.
Okay,
yeah,
keep your excited
I
puzzle
wasn't
thoughts to
looking
yourself
for
so you
this.
can finish an actual conversation.
Talking about. I wasn't looking for a white piece. No.
Oh, wait. Is that a dress?
Yes. Go back to whatever you were doing.
Tell me to go home.
No, I'm not going to tell you to go home. But here, I think it goes
I
right.
just saw it.
Okay, but back to gender norms.
Okay. What do you think of?
I like the definition that you gave about the division of, how did you say it?
The
Like
mental
load?
It's not original to me.
Okay, well then I like it less.
That's fair.
But I think that there are very real practical gender norms that we have in society that are just widely accepted. And I don't even mean just like in church culture. I mean just like in American culture. Yes, just general culture. Norms that are accepted, that we just we don't necessarily question them or maybe we do, but it's just kind of like, well, it is the way it is. It just is the way it is.
Would you say, like Sarah said, she sees that changing? Do you think so? Or do you feel like there's still a lot?
I think yes, but I don't know if that's because from my perspective, like I see in my world, those things changing. I'd be very curious as to like on the whole, if that's changing. Let me say this. I think there's that like huge trend on TikTok, the trad wife trend. Like it's like back to traditional wife roles and like a reclaiming, because they're feeling like push against traditional gender norms. So I think that yes, it is changing. And also there's like a desperation of a subset of people who are like, no, we have to hang on to this. If we don't, it's the destruction of society.
Yeah, that sounds a little cultish.
Okay, that's a little dismissive.
I should be
I don't think
dismissive.
it's weird. I don't think it's because they're weird. I think it's because they feel like they actually believe this is the way we hold on to society. Like, and I don't agree with it for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think it's out of a I don't know. Is it like okay?
It's kind of a motivation to protect what they value.
Yes, right.
But I think what they value comes from a misguided perspective.
I totally agree. Yeah, so. I agree with that completely. Yeah.
What's the word? Ergo, they're weird.
Ergo.
No, weird.
I know.
Okay, but yes, good use of ergo. Anyway,
What do you mean by your world? Like us?
The one that doesn't include us, apparently.
no. I don't mean necessarily even the people I know, although that would include people who I know, which is just you guys sitting in this room right now.
So I'm a little bit confused.
No, I mean like I feel very much like I used to be part of this one specific world who had one kind of way of thinking, and now I'm in a different world. I don't know. It's not necessarily world, but I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. So I think that for sure in the space. Okay, I'm inhabiting a different space now, and the space that I'm in is for sure asking more questions and bucking that like accepted culture.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Cool.
Yeah, I found it. It's right here.
Hey, she said keep the puzzle. Oh, it was you that said keep the puzzle excitement to a minimum.
I didn't say that, but
I don't know what you said, but you said something like that.
Definitely missed that.
Okay, well, that was a very important piece, and I'm glad I found it.
Okay. How did we... Moving on.
Quickly moving on.
Segue. How did you guys used to think about gender norms?
I don't think I thought of it as gender.
How was your life shaped by gender norms without you even realizing it?
You start.
Wow, that was very well worded.
I think
ergo and like
I know.
let me fancy word
With
this.
I had coffee.
Secondary
It's my new
definitions.
glasses. It's finally glasses.
I know. It's my new glasses prescription.
You
What
don't
is
really
that
love
on?
them?
No, I think I need a different frame, but I like having glasses.
They're very you.
I want to get the cat eye ones, but these
That's
were just the
also
ones that
very
were
you.
available, and I just really wanted them. And I also got prescription sunglasses.
That's a game
I know, and I put
changer.
them in my car this morning when I drove over here, but I forgot to wear them.
That's a total game changer. Yeah. All right. Anyway, what do you think about? Like you answer that
What
question.
did you think?
Well, I think
How did
coming
it shape
from
you?
our,
Whatever the question was.
Okay, you be quiet and let her
I'm
answer.
gonna let you work that out. Coming
take a
from
drink
the
of your
conservative
coffee.
Christian
No,
culture,
I can't. I'm going to get you sick. I'm still a little congested.
Then definitely do not.
you were
drink
at my
your
house for like 6 hours last night.
You don't
and
get sick like she does.
I still get sick.
You'll be fine.
coffee. I'm listening. Ignore her. I'm listening. Coming from the
There
conservative
was
culture.
obviously people use the Bible to define gender norms or gender roles in the home. Men were the providers, the financial providers and the protectors, and women were the keepers at home. Okay.
Just that phrase.
Set that one
I
aside.
feel triggered.
Anyway, keep going.
So that meant, obviously, in a practical sense, that men went out and worked and they had the full-time jobs, and women stayed home and they had the children and took care of the children. And it even meant more than that beyond a practical sense, but even the emotional load. Women carry the emotional load of handling all of the feelings and the caretaking, and men were the strong hunter-gatherer providers and didn't have to engage in the emotional side of things. So that's what I think of.
That is such a misunderstanding. It's like why are you laughing at me already?
There's another pineapple coming up.
Another pineapple?
That's not what that verse means.
Oh, got it. Do I do that all the time?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
But it's a good thing. Keep doing it.
What I was going to say is up until like 100 years ago, I think what people forget is that everybody worked at home. Everybody. Well, I guess more than 100 years ago, because 100 years ago was like, post-industrial revolution kind. But before that, before the Industrial Revolution, we're talking like for thousands of years, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years versus a very 120 years of time. Everybody worked together at the home.
Because you lived to survive.
I don't know what that means.
Except
So
for the,
people grew their own food and
No, I know what it means. I was being sarcastic.
the people that didn't have to, like the rich, the elite, they didn't have to, but those people still didn't follow typical gender norms necessarily.
Well, no, they didn't work at all.
Yeah,
Nobody
because-
hired people to work for them.
and so people, but even like taking care of kids, I think this comes a lot in taking care of kids. The gender norms.
So?
I think in some ways, yeah, and also just general like house stuff. But even in those times when everybody else lived to survive, the people that didn't have to, they had people to take care of kids and do all of the other things.
Yeah.
So I was just, sorry.
I agree.
The end.
So what happened 120 years ago?
Stupid industrial revolution.
No, you have a series of events, really. So the Industrial Revolution was a big deal, but also you have, in America specifically, you have World War One, when men, like in masses, went to war and women had to work. Like they had to work. They had no choice. All the men were gone. Then you have the Great Depression. That throws everything in turmoil. Then you have World War II, another world war where masses of men were gone and women were working. And so then when you get to like the 1950s, there's this post-war, post-depression, like kind of like settling, like, okay, we can breathe again. And it was like a fierce reclamation of values, like, okay, now we can get back to what we wanted before. And what we had before was like a post-Victorian society, which was very like puritanical for women. And it had very specific gender norms that, I mean, there's so much of America that is founded on the Enlightenment and Victorian era.
And so much of it is taken from the stuff that people were supposedly trying to run from.
Correct.
Yeah.
All that control from the
Correct.
church and those ideas.
But you can't escape who you are. Like, and you can't escape what has like built you and made you, and especially a society. You can escape it. I think it can be changed, but it's a long time changing, but you are still built out of that. And so I think when World War II was over, there was like a national sigh of relief. Okay, we can get back to, there was like this, very Leave It to Beaver, like we have got to get things back to where the man works, the women's at home, the kids all say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. And, it was very, to me, this is a weird way to put it, but when I look back on that time frame, it feels very dystopian. But obviously it can't be, because looking back and not looking ahead, but you know what I mean? It feels like
they were looking for a dystopian.
They were, yes, like this
desperation.
very like Stepford wife,
This
kind
ideal.
of like, yes, an ideal society.
Don't you think that's kind of like human nature, though, when you go through something traumatic like war? Like your instinct is to just grasp onto anything that feels normal.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I don't fault anybody for it, but there are definitely people who in the midst of that were like, well, hold on a second. Like not all of that was good.
Yeah.
Like there are some things that need to be rethought, but true to form, evangelicals come out of that, like, and especially in the 60s and 70s, and they see a younger generation rebelling against what happened in the 50s, and they start to freak out. Also, you have the civil rights movement, of course, true to form. Evangelicals are the fiercest opponents to the civil rights movement, to like all that was happening.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think evangelicals were so
Power.
influential? Okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, like they were afraid to lose control.
Yeah, power, absolutely power. You can go back and read the stuff that the main thinkers, or whatever you want to call them, of the influencers of the 60s and 70s, when the moral majority was birthed out of all of that. You go back to the main influencers of that time, you read what they say, and they just say like right out, like, we're losing control. We have got to get this back, under control. And
do you think there's also, this is going to be a little bit of a side note, but I was thinking about this with the Olympics and how there's such a strong reaction from conservative Christians to the Olympics. But I was wondering why. Like, why is that always when there seems to be like unity among people? It seems to be the conservative Christians that have to like rise up against that and say no. And I was wondering if that has to do with the church culture that is so focused on this idea that you have to be hated. If you're not hated, then you're not doing something right, because Jesus was hated. And even end times, ideas of where there's world peace or unity, that's bad. So when you have a church culture that's so rooted in those ideas of like unity and people just love and peace, you have to reject those because they're seen as wrong,
Like contrary to
or
Jesus.
bad, like signs of something bad. And so whenever a new idea comes of like bringing people together or bringing equality or peace or unity in any form, the Christians have to say that's wrong. We're afraid of that. We reject that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Sense?
Yeah.
How sad is that?
Because I think there are some people, especially like at the top of these power structures, that guide these ideas because of control. But like the people at the bottom are obviously not trying to control, but they've been taught to fear.
Yeah. There's
Some of these things.
I was just reading, it was a behavioral science study that was talking about like this like major research that they did on a huge group of people. And what they're saying at the end of it is that people actually don't believe what's true. They believe whatever will not cost them an alliance that they hold dear. And that reminds me of that. So like if you're talking about like the people at the bottom or whatever, you know, like us, then it's like a group think mentality that I think is common to humans in general, a group think, but when it's motivated by fear. So like if the people that we look to are afraid, or if they are saying you need to be afraid of this, then we're just automatically afraid of it.
Right.
You know, it's a lack of critical thinking is what it is. And not saying, well, hold on a second, wait a minute. Like, let's like talk this through, like the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. Like, let's just talk about this for a second. No, there's a few influential pastors who are like, this is what this is, and this is what that is, and this is what this is, and like I'm boycotting this along with the other 75 things that I'm boycotting and then change my mind about in 6 months or whatever, you know. And so, okay, well, we all need to boycott, you know, instead of being like, hold on a minute. Now, fine, if you think through it and at the end you're like, okay, well, maybe there were some things to be concerned about, which I don't think there were, but if you get to the end of it and you do think that, after you've critically thought about it and really discussed and like figured out what all the upset is about, fine. But the majority are just like, he said we should be afraid, so we should be afraid. Yeah. Or he said we should boycott, so we're all boycotting. I mean, it's very frustrating.
Yep.
I don't know how we got to that. I don't remember why we were talking about that.
That's okay. That's not important.
Okay.
It's not important.
Back to gender norms.
Was there a point for you guys where you realized, or did you guys feel like there was an imbalance in, you know, the workload or the mental load, or that you were living by these very specific gender norms and you questioned it? Did you have like a moment? Did you feel like anything was off?
A moment of recognition.
Yeah. A moment of awakening.
I always felt like that.
Yeah. I don't know
Like
that
from
in what
the
ways?
get-go.
Like in what ways? Like,
I always felt like, I mean, I guess we, you know, been in ministry since the whole time we've known each other. So just watching how, I guess I'm thinking more of ministry. We're talking about in the home. So I married somebody who comes from a very traditional, the husband has this job and the wife has all these jobs in the house, and never the twain shall meet. I think in our house, I never felt like, oh, mom is so like
I feel like we
mistreated
were
or like
unique though, but also dad
I
did
do
a
too.
lot of
like the
stuff.
cooking and
Yeah.
cleaning, always.
Yeah.
Dad was
They were-
always like serving people,
Yeah.
and yes,
And
They
I
did a lot
didn't-
together.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like we are a little bit of the odd ones
Yeah,
out,
I totally
which
agree
I'm
with
really
that.
thankful for to
Yeah.
have grown up with that example.
I totally agree.
But I think a lot of us sisters would say that when we got married, it was not necessarily that way.
Correct. So I think that's what I was trying
Yeah.
to get to. So I was like, whoa, hold on here. Like this is not how this is going to be. But I think from the very beginning, I wasn't afraid to be like, look, I know this is how you grew up, you know, and because John never he didn't have hard and fast rules about, you know, like this is the way it's going to be. He's just not that way in general. He was like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Let's do that, you know? And so we have kind of like equally divided all of that from the beginning. I will say though, society pushes up against that. So even though we have tried to be equal in that, it's still, it's like, I would say probably not until like the last 10 years that I feel like it actually is a complete division of.
And even still, would you say that you are generally the one that has had to lead that division?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. There are so many things that if I didn't say this needs to be done, or we need to think about this, or hey, I need you to do this, they would just not get done. And I think that's, again, back to culture. Like men have been trained to not have to think about those things, and also been trained to believe, well, I don't know how to do that. So because I don't know how to, I don't have to.
Or she does it better.
Just to put like a disclaimer on this episode, that we've all had really open, honest conversations with our husbands in group settings. Like we're not like
we're not bashing them.
No,
they're probably not even going to listen to this episode anyway, so they'll never know. But just so you know, like they're not going to be shocked to
and it's an ongoing conversation between like our own husbands, but also all of us together.
Right.
So like we're all good.
Yeah. There's no weird like with. Yeah, definitely not. We all of us have had like hours long conversations about all this kind of stuff. Anyway.
So Sarah, what about you? What made you start to read? Or do you feel like you just not naturally like you wanted to, but it just happened that you guys fell into those roles?
I think I have always felt like I've always wanted to have a career. I've always wanted to work. Didn't love the idea of being a stay-at-home mom.
Then you're not
I
saved.
think, that's really what it was. Like
rebellious.
That culture is so influential. But not just influential. It's like when you go against it, you're just kind of shunned.
But also I think like fine, there are in some spaces there's like, okay, fine, well you can work too. You can teach at the Christian school or you can be a secretary or whatever.
Be a secretary
but also and only if you do all these other things at home.
Yes. Yeah. So I have worked our entire marriage, but I have worked as a part-time church secretary until the last 2 years. And it wasn't until I started working full-time outside of ministry that I was like, wait a minute, hold up.
This is a thing we can do.
Let's get real here. And then we started having these conversations. And I think that's when it changed for me, at least to the point where I could say it out loud.
What were some questions that you started asking yourself?
How in the world am I supposed to get everything done that needs to get done? I don't even remember.
Probably for me, I was asking like, why is it like this? Why do we just accept that this is okay? That, like we both work and then I come home and I still do all this stuff. Like I'm not willing to accept that that's okay. And like, why does society as a whole why are we just like, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the questions.
What about for people where the wife doesn't have a job outside the house or, where she doesn't make money, she doesn't earn an income? What about that?
Like how division of labor works now?
Yeah. Because a lot of the conversation so far is like,
if both people are working and then both. I think it's still the same. We all inhabit the house. So like we all work in different ways. And sure, then maybe you're at home all day. You can do more of the stuff that has to be done at home. But I don't think it exempts anybody from.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's an excuse for nobody else to do.
Right.
And especially if there are kids. I don't think it gets to be like, well, the husband works all day and so the wife, her job is the kids. No.
Yeah.
You are both parents equally.
Yes.
If you want to work outside the home, great. I mean, as a husband, but you're still a dad.
Yeah.
So, and that means you help at bedtime. And that means that you help with homework. And that means that you do soccer games. And that means you do all of the things. And I think it's a lot of times where it's like, well, I work all day, so it's the wife's job to do all the things, to get them registered for school or to add any of those to brush their teeth at night. Yeah. Wrong. Like you're both parents.
Yeah.
And you're both tired.
Yeah.
So you both do it anyway.
So then practically, how do you go about, because unfortunately, like we kind of already mentioned, most men, if you grew up in this particular kind of culture, I would say most men are not naturally independently going to be like, hey, this feels a little off here. Let's fix that. It's unfortunately going to most likely fall to the women to lead this conversation. So how does that happen in a healthy way?
You have to start having the conversation.
Like how would you start the conversation?
How did we start the conversation? We did this together.
I mean, I think, so hearing you say that, I will just kind of like jump in for a second. I think something that is always helpful, two things I would say, is you don't ever start the conversation after conflict or during conflict.
Yeah.
Wait. And then I would say the second way is actually, okay, now I'm thinking 3 ways. So the second way would be in a group setting with people who everybody respects what the other people are saying, where you have men and women and kids. Our kids were all, part of these conversations and asking good questions. And I think that's helpful. For whatever reason, it is helpful for a man to hear someone else other than his wife say something.
Which is stupid.
It is also stupid, but it's true. It's what it is. I don't think it has to be true in every case. And I think, anyway, that's another subject. But so I think in that setting, I think another really great way is to be like, hey, I listened to this book or I read this book. Would you want to read it with me? I listened
to this podcast.
Would you want to listen to it with me or read it with me and tell me what you think? And just coming from a position of, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, instead of being like, here's what I think and here's what needs to be different and this is the way we need to change everything.
I hate all of that so much. I'm definitely the type. I think the first conversation Nick and I had about it was I was going to start working full time. And he wasn't working at the time because it was after we moved here. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I'm going to start this job, but you're going to have to be the one to get the kids ready for school. You're going to have to take them to school. You're going to have to pick them up. You're going to have to do homework with them. You're going to have to cook dinner, which he had never cooked dinner before that. And I had to be really honest with him. Like, I'm starting work tomorrow. Like, these things are going to have to get done. I don't know if it was the day before, but it was close because I was dreading the conversation. And I just stopped doing those things. And he kind of had to realize how much that I actually did before he started.
Well, so I think here's the thing, if you're married to someone who has any kind of respect for you or sense of responsibility or whatever, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
And I mean,
it'll be okay.
If you say okay, here are things that have to be done, then
it's not he would be no, nothing to do.
But some men probably would, though. Yeah. And that is a bummer. I have limited advice for people in those situations.
That's a lot deeper issues.
Yeah. Where just that conversation can't be had.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's other things.
Yeah, I think like you said, if there is a general level of respect, even if they are clueless or even resistant, to some of these ideas, because I know Marty for a long time they don't see, they don't realize what all goes into managing, a household and a home and kids, and then your own humanity. Mm-hmm. For us, we had lots and lots of conversations, but what finally I think took for him, I knew it had to be something very obvious and outright. And so I read this book called Fair Play. Mm-hmm. And I think she's the one where I got the idea of sharing the mental load. Mm-hmm. Because so much of, Sarah, how you had to tell Nick, you have to take the kids and you have to do this. You have to tell them, well, you still carry the mental load when you are the one that has to notice and do and be aware of and manage all the things, even if they do it. Because one thing Marty would always say is, well, I'll do whatever.
Just tell me what to do. Yeah.
The mental load is still on the one who has to notice what needs to be done and keep track of it and manage all that.
Yeah.
So this book, this author, which is not an amazing book or anything, but it was helpful for us.
Mm-hmm. I think we read the same book.
Oh, that's right. Because Nick read it first, and then I read it, and she actually has a whole thing. You print out these cards. She's divided all the tasks. It is a bit much, but I did that for Marty's sake.
You did because
I printed out the cards, and it's all the different tasks in running a household. It's special events and even special memories, like who's in charge of the family things or groceries, and who's in charge of laundry. And if you're in charge of laundry, you're in charge of every single aspect of laundry, making sure that laundry gets done, gets put away, that you have laundry detergent, that the laundry room stays tidy. It's the whole thing. And so you divide up these cards, and whoever has the card has that card. If you're in charge of extracurricular activities, you're in charge of registration and making sure that the kids have all that they need and getting them to practice and communicating and handling the snacks and all of those things.
I'm exhausted already.
It is exhausting. That's why it takes both people.
And what you do at first is you say, here's where we're at currently. I am holding these cards, and you actually like keep score. And say, this is how we're functioning right now. Is this person is holding all these cards and this person is holding all these cards, and they have like different point values, I think, because obviously some things are worth more. Like if you have one person earning the main income, that's worth quite a bit. That's a lot. And so you take that into consideration. But I think for Marty, it took that to realize, like, okay, you're holding 47 cards and I'm holding 3.
I will say that book was a huge eye-opener for Nick. He read that shortly after we started having these conversations, and that was a huge eye-opener for him.
So that for us on a very practical sense was really helpful, because otherwise it's still you all the time saying, look, at this is an example. And I would tell Marty, and when we started having these conversations, I told him that I'm going to point it out every time I see that this is unfair. And you are going to have to trust me that I'm not just being dramatic or stupid or whatever. And so I would point it out every time. This is an example of where this load is on me naturally. And so that was helpful for us. So ways that we are thinking differently in a broad sense. I think I'm going to lead this one. But for me...
Go you. Way to take charge.
It has been really life-changing to just reconsider, what are we doing just because of our gender? Like, what roles are we naturally assuming or what roles are naturally placed upon us just because of our gender? And that has changed, not even just for him or for me saying, like, you have to do more work, but even for me, like saying it's okay for me to pursue more of a career. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to not do that just because I'm the wife or the woman. Like, that's okay. And for him, it's okay for him to handle, emotional situations with the kids, even though he's the man, and that doesn't come naturally, or even just organizational things or, all the million things.
And I think that matters because we have accepted a lie that, well, this doesn't come naturally to me, so I shouldn't have to do it. And that's a lie.
Something that Marty, because that's something that he would say a lot, and he would say that he says that a lot, and I'm just like bashing him.
I've heard him say that.
But I would, rebuttal that with, I don't know if rebuttal is a verb.
Rebuttal.
Rebuttal is a word, but it's not a verb.
It should be. That's a fun verb. Rebut.
I would rebut.
No, I would follow up with, why does it comes more naturally to me because it has had to.
Right. I haven't had a choice.
I had to do that. So I know how to do that. I know how to organize or plan an event or take care of a sick kid or whatever.
I think it's the same thing with, you're just better at it.
Like,
I'm better at it because I've had to do it.
And
we have no choice. Somebody has to be good at it. So it's been me. But that doesn't mean, just because you've done it that way doesn't mean it has to always be that way.
And it doesn't mean it comes naturally to you. It just means that I have had to learn how to do this. Nobody told me, well, you have to go through your kids' clothes every 6 months to make sure that they have the clothes that they need.
That today.
Well, you have to teach your kids how to brush your teeth. Not your teeth, their teeth.
Come on, kids, time to brush my teeth. That would be weird.
I would definitely pass on that one. I see how my kids brush their teeth.
I can it even be called brushing? I mean, I'm not talking about your kids specifically, just kids in general.
Definitely my kids.
I'm kind of scared my kids into brushing their teeth because I tell them that they're
going to rot out of their head.
It doesn't work for my kids.
They're not scared?
No,
my kids are pretty much terrified.
But I will say
your kids are more big picture. Sarah's kids are living in the moment.
It's because my kids go to basically Disneyland for their dentist. When they come out of the dentist, they're holding a balloon. They got like a bag full of goodies, a brand new toothbrush that they're so excited about. That they never
my
use.
Dentist takes care of this. I don't have to worry about it.
I don't know what
Somebody was going to say something right there.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Sounded like it was
I'm thinking
be good.
about Sarah's kids' nasty teeth.
Have you seen Evelyn's tooth? It's like sticking
Yes,
straight
the one that
out.
fell out.
So I was like,
No,
Abby,
it hasn't fallen out yet.
Oh, it's still not out?
No, and it's
Good.
completely
like,
horizontal.
Abby, you have got to yank that thing out of
Is it
your
her first
head.
one?
no, it's like her fourth tooth.
What is she afraid of?
I don't know.
Oh.
She's not really
She just
afraid
knows
of
you want it
anything.
out, so
That's
she's going to be
probably
like,
exactly
nope.
what it is.
She's probably
letting
super
this
glued
thing
it back
stay
into her head.
forever.
Probably
She
already
probably did.
Okay, we'll say though her last loose tooth, I did the floss trick where you tie the floss in the knot. It got stuck. The floss got stuck on it.
So now she's traumatized, so it is your fault.
No, I don't think she's traumatized. I think she is intentionally holding it
Super
against
easily
me.
traumatized.
She is not.
She's
She
usually the
does the
traumatizer.
traumatizing.
Yeah, not the traumatizee. Anyway, I don't even know what we were talking about. What were we talking about? Something, I don't know. We brushing
how
teeth,
you're
something.
thinking differently now.
Oh, what are
go
we doing
ahead.
practically? Is that what you
Just how you
That's how
think
you're thinking
differently.
Well, I think I don't know.
You don't know how you think differently?
I think I have to think differently. I mean, I work
No, like
full-
in what ways?
Oh, okay. Like what's
In what ways? Like what has changed? Like
Oh,
in
well,
your thinking?
somebody else answer this question first.
Okay.
I don't know why this is so hard for me to answer.
I think one of the ways that I am thinking differently is that I don't allow myself to feel guilty about making sure that John is like sharing the load. Also, I would say that this is not really an issue for us. It hasn't been for a while.
That's annoying.
Yeah, shut up.
Well, we've been married a lot longer than you guys
Go
have.
get us coffee.
Yeah, you can be done now.
I think that when you've put in 25 years, then you get to say that too.
Well, we're at 15, so I feel like I should say something.
Okay, well, it was
Right,
right about
let's say
15 that I thought, okay, like we finally are getting the hang of this thing.
You mean I gotta suffer 3 more years of this?
So I think that it took a while for me just to not feel bad for him. I think you're so conditioned to make sure that, and this could be a personality thing too, it could be a result of trauma or whatever, that I feel the need to regulate everybody's emotions around me and make sure everybody's okay and feeling okay about this. I feel like when people come into my home, I want to make sure everybody's having a good time, like nobody's feeling left out, or like I just constantly feel that need. And so I think I especially felt it for him, where it was like, okay, well, if I say, so like in our house, everybody has one night where they do all the dishes. And it's still, when it's his turn, makes me feel weird. I have to be like, look, he's just a person, like you're a person. We all use the dishes. Everybody's taking a turn to do the dishes.
Do you think
like,
that's about you and you protecting him?
Yes.
Or is it you allowing you to be human?
Oh, I think it's maybe both. It's a good question.
Man, you're on fire today, Justin.
I think it's both for sure.
Because I think for me, that was a thing. Like I'm allowed to be tired and overwhelmed, but I don't have to be. Like I'm allowed to not be those things.
Yeah, I'm allowed to
You
not
are-
be tired and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and not to say like they have to take on more. Like the
Sure.
idea is not the idea is balance.
Yes,
which is
correct.
imperfect and impossible, but we can work toward it, and it's constantly adjusting.
I think I read something recently. I think she said, the point is not for women to be special. It's just for us to be human. We should just be allowed to be humans, and as opposed to like superhumans. Like we don't have to be like better than, or given more. I shouldn't have more time off, or like more rest periods or whatever. You know, but it should just all be. We're all living in this house. It should all be equal. We're all humans.
The lazy genius, I heard her say one time that the goal is not, again, like that we're doing the same amount, but the goal could be that we have the same amount of rest. So if it's hard to like divvy up the task, just like, are you resting? Or do you have that available to you?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think one way I am thinking differently is before I felt like I am like the peacemaker of the home, so I have to keep the peace. I have to
Well,
make
yeah,
sure
you're
everybody's
the
happy.
thermostat.
Oh,
What is it?
stop.
Is that
It's
the right word?
another.
Like you set the temperature for your home.
Ew.
Yeah, the thermostat.
But yeah, that's what I thought. And so I'd always like feel the weight of making sure that Nick was happy, or he was at peace, or he had everything he needed to be happy. And I love my husband, but that's a lot of work for him.
It's not your job.
Yeah.
It's not your job.
Yeah. And
That's his job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think now realizing I don't have to carry that weight. It's not my responsibility to make him happy. He can do that on his own. That has definitely changed a lot for me.
How has it changed things between you and your spouse? Because I could see a lot of people listening to this, or even husbands, and being like, well, that sounds awful. Now they just have to work more, and that's going to cause tension. Or like, what have you guys experienced?
Specifically with that, or with like everything we're talking about?
With everything, with the whole changing your mindset about gender norms in the home.
I think it has opened Nick's eyes to everything that I do. And so I think for us, it has changed things for the better. I think it's messy to work through. I think it's when you haven't had these conversations for the first 10 years of your marriage, and all of a sudden this is changing a lot of things, then it's kind of hard to work through. But Nick is extremely open to this, and
He is.
He would
He
say
really is.
he's more of a feminist than I am. So I think he might be the exception to this, because he's very eager to change and jump in.
That's definitely true.
Yeah. So
Good job, Nick.
Yeah. Way to be, man.
I think for us, it has made us more partners. Like, we feel like we're in a partnership in this thing.
Instead of a power
A
structure.
hierarchy. Yeah. And that changes everything. You may be like doing some things that are a little more uncomfortable for you, or you have to learn how to do or whatever. But like, ultimately, we're like, for sure, better partners, better friends, better like, associates, like this is all
It's
like
like
too
a
business
team,
related.
which
Yeah,
is
we're a
easy.
team. We're so much more of a team.
Yeah.
And that changes everything else.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. What do you still have to learn? Or what does your husband still have to learn? Sorry, don't answer that one.
He can come on and answer that one for himself. I think for me, it's just what I was talking about before, is still letting go of old like mental
Like
battles that I
narratives?
have. Yes, narratives, or like responses like that I have for myself, or whatever surrounding it. Learning how to let go of that, learning how to be more, and like I said, like, I know this is annoying for you guys to hear, but like I said, we don't have to talk about this much anymore, if at all. I mean, I think probably Katie could answer, like, even when she was growing up, it was pretty equal division. But I would say, like, as far as the physical part of it, the physical labor part of it was equally divided for sure. The mental labor of it was not yet divided when Katie and Annie were still kids. But yeah, I think just continually letting go of bad narratives. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think it's just giving myself permission to be fully human, and like allowing myself to have a career, to have passions, to have hobbies, to have time to myself, and not feel guilty about that.
Isn't it weird that that's a thing that has to be said? So bizarre, but it's true.
Yeah.
What about you, Jess?
I think I don't feel guilty about it or any of that.
I love
Like,
that for
I'm
you.
fine.
Yeah, that's great.
But I think for me, the struggle is not letting myself get frustrated when things are imbalanced, because it is a long process and it is
man.
a constant
And probably forever.
fluctuation,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so not getting frustrated when I still have to point out the things and knowing how to do that well, I think is a struggle.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Good job, guys.
Oh, here's
There we
to
go.
crushing the patriarchy.
Okay, that's another topic probably, but also I want to talk about that.
You don't want to talk
No, I do.
always
want to talk
about
about
you said you don't
Maybe
want to talk about it.
we
That's why I'm
should have
surprised.
another episode that talks about like gender norms on the wider scale. We'll pull it outside the home and move
We
to the church.
talked about
Maybe
know,
we should have
but-
our husbands come on for that one.
Oh,
Maybe it would be good to hear from
idea.
the
Do a
male
follow-up.
perspective.
Yeah, we could do a follow-up.
Yeah.
Like a bigger perspective, like picture.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if you guys have questions or comments, or you relate, or what
Need help normalizing gender roles in your home?
if you
not
need help,
normalizing,
No,
but
wait.
bucking the norm.
there we
Yeah.
go. Shifting away from, or even
Unnormalizing.
Changing the norms.
sometimes even just recognizing that you are functioning that way.
Yeah. Do you feel
That's a
tired?
big thing.
Call us. Do you feel overwhelmed?
What are we gonna do? Like, we're still working it out, but we'll listen for sure. And
That's
be
basically all we can
yeah,
offer at this
sometimes
point.
that's a bummer.
We don't have many answers, but we're there with you.
Hey,
sometimes
we
that's all
never
people
claimed
need.
that this podcast is gonna be about answers.
Disclaimer at the bottom. we actually cannot help.
We're just chatting. We're just chatting. But if you need somebody to talk to, or you have a question or comment, you can contact us on Instagram, YouTube, Substack. Is that all the places?
Can you contact
Email?
us anywhere else?
I don't know. Can you email us, Katie?
I don't know. What's your email?
Katie says yes. You can
we
email
have
us.
an email?
Side note, if we haven't responded to your email,
No, Katie knows.
Okay.
Katie keeps a handle on all that stuff. Okay, anyway, we'll keep going with the conversation. We'll have our husbands come on and we can talk more about it.
Then we can really crush the
somebody write that down.
That's just it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all
not?
for it, but... Okay, that's it. All right.
Never mind.
We're going to end up finishing this.
Yeah, I was really hoping we would get this done.
I know, and
So
we didn't. But
I
hold
think
on,
we need
what?
to keep the
Where are
conversation going for like.
Are we going to be short pieces?
I don't have any edge pieces.
Are they under the puzzle? Did they get stuck?
Did your cat steal our pieces, Katie?
You know, are
Two
they in that
end
tissue
pieces
box?
are gone. They might be in the chair in that room back there where they keep the cat. They're not in any of these.
I can't really
right.
see. So
Stay
I don't know.
tuned.